Do you think you know everything about the beloved cowboy star Roy Rogers and his legacy? Well, think again. Today we're diving deep into the shocking revelations made by Roy Rogers' own daughter, and we'll uncover all the truth that has been hidden for a quarter of a decade. Roy Rogers is an unforgettable name for fans of Hollywood's golden era. The iconic cowboy starred in over 100 movies, becoming a household name in the 1940s. But did you ever think there was more to Roy Rogers' life than the movies showed? However, in his autobiography, Happy Trails Our Life Story, he wrote, "I never tried any fancy trick acting on screen. It was just me. The Roy Rogers way back then was the same as the one sitting here today." Indeed, he was a man true to himself, but fast forward 25 years after his passing, Roy Rogers' daughter confirms what we thought all along. Keep watching this video as we uncover the secrets she is revealing after all these years. So, Roy Rogers, widely known for his comedic performances and musical talents in almost 100 films from the 1930s to the 1950s, also had a compassionate side. His eldest daughter, Cheryl Rogers Barnett, described him as a mischievous kid with a big heart. Now here's the fact they didn't always tell you. Roy wasn't born with a cowboy hat on. Nope, his birth name was Leonard Franklin Sly. He was born on November 5, 1911 in Cincinnati at 412 East 2nd Street, a 4-story red brick tenement building. That building later turned into Riverfront Stadium, and Roy couldn't resist cracking a joke about it, claiming he was born on second base. Rogers was just 1 year old when his family moved from big city life in Cincinnati to a houseboat in Portsmouth, Ohio, crafted by his father, Andy, and uncle. When the nomadic lifestyle became overwhelming, the family purchased land to establish a permanent residence. Rogers' early life was nothing like the fame he would later achieve. Financial struggles led him to work alongside his father at a factory before completing his second year of high school. Despite aspirations for night school, Rogers dropped out after an unfortunate incident of falling asleep in class. Constantly on the move, the father-son duo took on various jobs, including tough labor camp jobs that felt straight out of Grapes of Wrath, a never-ending grind of physically demanding work. Their tough journey continued until 1930, when a visit to Rogers' married sister in California convinced the family to make the Golden State their permanent home. Upon settling in California, Rogers embarked on a musical career, joining various bands like the Sons of the Pioneers, which he co-founded with Bob Nolan. Their mega-hit Tumbling Tumbleweeds not only got them cameo roles in a bunch of movies, but also marked the beginning of Rogers' musical legacy. Rogers' career took a dramatic turn when he heard that Republic Pictures was on the hunt for a new singing cowboy, all thanks to Gene Autry's contract dispute over money. So Rogers decides to give it a shot. Despite being turned away by the studio guard, Rogers managed to sneak in with a group of Western extras. Then he felt a hand on his shoulder. Well, to his surprise, it wasn't the guard who caught him, but a producer who recognized him from the Sons of the Pioneers. Instead of being kicked out, he was told to grab his guitar and ended up winning the audition. Realizing the need for a more heroic and memorable stage name, he transitioned from Len Sly and the moniker Dick Weston to the iconic Roy Rogers. Why Roy Rogers? Well, it was the deliberate choice to pay homage to humorist Will Rogers, one of his personal heroes, and Roy was chosen for its American variation of the French word for king. In 1938, replacing Autry in the film Under Western Stars, Rogers totally rocked it and managed to impress both critics and audiences. And just like that, he solidified his place in the Western movie scene. Rogers' on-screen persona wasn't just based on his performance, but it was his inseparable bond with his loyal horse, Trigger, that captivated the audiences. This connection extended beyond the screen, as Rogers was a lifelong animal lover, often accompanied by Trigger and his faithful dog Bullet. Trigger wasn't just any horse, he was tagged smartest horse in the movies and was even featured on posters. Their connection and Trigger's intelligence significantly contributed to the success and popularity of Roy Rogers' films. Remarkably, Rogers dominated the box office as the #1 Western star for a whopping 12 consecutive years from 1943 to 1954. His fame and success were so off the charts that rivaled even Walt Disney in terms of merchandise. His influence and legacy stretched far beyond the silver screen, solidifying him as an iconic legend in the entertainment industry. But when it came to his personal life, his journey was filled with ups and downs. Especially parenthood and finding love again is a touching part of his story. Now, Roy really had a soft spot for kids. He always made time to visit orphanages and children's hospitals, where he used to perform tricks with Trigger. But despite his love for children, Rogers and his first wife Arlene faced difficulties in starting a family of their own. Determined, though, in 1942, they made the compassionate decision to adopt a baby girl named Cheryl. It was the beginning of a whole new chapter in their lives. Later, Arlene gave birth to their biological children, Linda Lou in 1943, and then little Roy Jr., lovingly nicknamed Dusty, in 1946. But just a few days after Dusty's birth, tragedy hit hard. Arlene suffered a massive brain embolism and sadly passed away. Suddenly finding himself a widower with 3 little ones, Roy Rogers confronted a profound personal crisis. In the midst of his grief, Rogers found solace and companionship with his longtime co-star Dale Evans. Their connection grew, and one day before a rodeo show, he spontaneously proposed, asking, "Why don't we get married?" As he galloped into the arena on Trigger, she joined him in the spotlight and said, "Yes." Fast forward to New Year's Eve, 1947, the King of the Cowboys and the Queen of the West were married, solidifying a union that would shape the next chapters of their lives. In 1950, Roy Rogers and Dale Evans joyfully welcomed their biological child Robin into the world. However, amidst the happiness, they received unexpected news. Robin was born with Down syndrome, a condition surrounded by stigmas and misconceptions during that era. Despite medical advice suggesting institutionalization for children with Down syndrome, Roy and Dale defied the norm, choosing to bring Robin home. Ignoring doctors' warnings to keep emotional distance, the couple wholeheartedly loved Robin. Their incredible love for their daughter endured for nearly 2 heart-wrenching years, until Robin tragically passed away just before turning 2, the cause attributed to complications from mumps. Can you imagine the pain of losing your child? It was a really tough moment for this couple, and as they stood beside Robin's coffin, Roy Rogers expressed a heart-wrenching sentiment, describing her as a small-sized sleeping angel. Later, while grappling with their grief, Dale Evans wrote Angel Unaware, a touching story of love and loss. It was one of the first memoirs about parenting a child with special needs, a revolutionary and much needed at the time. Despite the heaviness of their grief, the couple's story didn't stop there. Instead, it took a turn toward adoption. They welcomed Sandy, a child who had experienced abuse, and a war orphan named Debbie into their family. Then they also adopted a 7-month-old Choctaw girl named Mary Little Doe, known as Dodie, and she had a connection with Roy through cultural heritage. But their journey in adoption didn't end there. In fact, 6 out of their total 9 children were adopted. While Roy Rogers cherished every member of his family, one daughter in particular had a significant impact on his life and career. Her name was Marion Fleming, and she was later known as Mimi Swift. Mimi entered the world amidst the chaos of World War II in Edinburgh, and growing up in various orphanages for 13 years, she discovered her gift for singing. The turning point came in 1954 when she performed in front of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans during their visit to Dunforth Children's Home. The famous cowboy duo, captivated by her enchanting voice and lively spirit, made the life-changing decision to adopt her and bring her to their California ranch. Looking back on her time with them, Mimi shared that in their home they were simply family, Mum and Dad, disregarding the fame of her adoptive parents Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. Embraced by their love and care, Mimi Swift flourished in her new family. She explored the world, rubbed shoulders with celebrities, and formed a tight bond with her sister Dodie, who was also adopted into the family. To Roy Rogers, Mimi was more than an adopted daughter. She held a special place in his heart. His love for Mimi is reflected in his words when he said, "She's been with us since she was 13 years old. We love her just as much as our own children." Meanwhile, Mimi, who received a celebrity child treatment, never forgot her roots. She remained down to earth, generous and humble, and made multiple trips to her birthplace throughout her life. Mimi also devoted herself to charitable causes, notably serving as the president of the Happy Trails Children's Foundation, founded by Roy and Dale. Mimi Swift left a lasting legacy upon her passing on January 25, 2021, at the age of 80. A mother to 3, grandmother to 6, and great-grandmother to 2, she was a cherished friend to many. Her impact extended far beyond her immediate family, symbolizing the enduring influence of the Hollywood couple who made her part of their extraordinary journey. Roy Rogers always valued his family, but his connection with Mimi was not just because of her being his adopted daughter. Mimi embodied gratitude, love, and respect, making Roy feel she was an integral part of his family. She was grateful to the couple for giving her a better life, and she created a strong familial bond with Roy and her siblings. Beyond family ties, Mimi and Roy shared a deep passion for music. Her beautiful voice, which had captivated Roy at the orphanage, was now leading to musical collaborations. Roy, acting as a mentor, taught Mimi to play the guitar and harmonize, fostering a unique and enduring musical bond until his passing. But it was not just music that united them. They also shared similar values and beliefs. Mimi deeply respected and wholeheartedly embraced his Christian faith and humanitarian spirit. This shared foundation of values and spirituality created a profound understanding that extended beyond the realm of family ties. While Mimi was one of the blessings in Roy Rogers' life, tragedy also kept hitting his path. At one point, he experienced the tragic loss of his adopted children, Debbie and Sandy. Despite the profound sorrow, Roy maintained a resilient spirit and adopted a philosophical perspective on life. He often remarked that without tough times, it's challenging to appreciate the good moments. Life, according to him, is what you make of it, whether that's finding joy or facing hardships. But those hardships were not just limited to her personal life. As his illustrious career progressed, Roy Rogers encountered significant financial challenges that cast a shadow over his Hollywood wealth and status. A major setback occurred when he lost his deal with Republic Pictures due to a conflict of interest. He took a bold step by starting his own company, but unfortunately, it didn't fare well. Competing with other Western stars who resonated more with the changing audience, Rogers spent considerable sums on properties and collectibles. To cover debts and taxes, he eventually had to sell them. Legal battles and unwise investments further drained his finances. Despite attempting to keep up with industry trends through various movie and TV projects, Rogers never quite recaptured his former glory. In the face of financial adversity, Roy Rogers remained unwavering in his faith and commitment to his family. A devout Christian, he relied on God's grace and guidance, praying and reading the Bible with his wife Dale Evans. Regular church attendance and support for Christian causes were integral to his life. Expressing gratitude for God's blessings, Rogers once said, "I've always been a religious person because I'm thankful for all that God has given me." His family held a special place in his heart, with a deep love for both biological and adopted children, treating them all equally. Cherishing his grandchildren and great-grandchildren, Roy spent quality time with them, playing games, telling stories, singing songs, and riding horses. Through these moments, he imparted values like honesty, kindness, generosity, and courage, emphasizing "my family is my life." Then, in July 1988, Rogers made a heartwarming comeback to Cincinnati for the famous Greater Cincinnati Homecoming during the city's bicentennial celebration. This was a trip down memory lane for the iconic cowboy, revisiting a city where he had left a lasting impression decades ago. Throughout the event, he delighted fans at various spots, including Fountain Square and his own Roy Rogers restaurants in Florence and Springdale. While chatting with a young boy, Rogers, with a smile, bent over and said, "At your age, you probably haven't heard of Roy Rogers." To everyone's surprise, the boy quickly answered, "Oh yes, I have." This homecoming coincided with the Major League Baseball All-Star Game at Riverfront Stadium, bringing together 80 stars, including legends like Muhammad Ali and Willie Mays, as well as local celebrities from Andy Williams to Neil Armstrong. However, stealing the spotlight was none other than Roy Rogers. Rogers had this unique ability to turn any encounter into something heartfelt and uplifting. Unfortunately, time proved to be an unbeatable foe. On July 6, 1998, at his ranch in Apple Valley near Victorville, California, Roy Rogers passed away at the age of 86 due to congestive heart failure. During his final moments, he was surrounded by his loving wife, Dale Evans, and other family members who held him dear. Some sources reveal that in his final moments, Roy Rogers spent most of his time resting and praying on his deathbed. Despite being too frail to engage in conversation or sing, he still mustered a smile and gently held the hands of his loved ones. What stands out is the peace he found within himself and with his faith. In his last breaths, he shared these words with his son, Dusty Rogers, "I never expected to see you in heaven." Just days before Roy's passing, Dusty, who had been estranged from his father due to personal and religious differences, had visited him. The reconciliation between father and son just before the end was a heartfelt reunion. Roy expressed his happiness at seeing his son again and expressed a hopeful anticipation of their reunion in the afterlife. The news of Roy Rogers' passing reverberated across the globe, stirring the emotions of millions who had grown up watching his movies and TV shows. He was symbolized not just as a hero and legend, but also touched the lives of many children through his charitable endeavors. On July 11th at Sunset Hills Memorial Park in Apple Valley, he found his final resting place beside Trigger's remains. Hundreds of people, including numerous celebrities, were there to say a final goodbye. The media and his fellow stars mourned his departure with deep sorrow and utmost respect. They celebrated him as a man who personified wholesome values and compassion. Fondly, they recalled his acts of kindness, his boundless generosity, and his humble nature, both as a person and a philanthropist. Among those who paid homage to this legendary figure were President Clinton, Clint Black, Gene Autry, Pat Boone, and Michael Landon Jr. Dale Evans, his wife of 51 years, delivered a heartfelt eulogy, describing the occasion as a day when heaven rejoices because another saint has come home. As a final farewell, she joined her children in singing Happy Trails in memory of Roy Rogers. In the aftermath of Roy's passing, Dale Evans gradually withdrew from public life. Tragically, just 3 years later, she succumbed to heart failure, with some suggesting she carried the weight of guilt for Roy's death. The couple faced their battles with congestive heart failure privately, concealing their health struggles, even as they felt the decline in their well-being during their final years. In a heart-wrenching reunion, Dale Evans was laid to rest beside her husband in Apple Valley, California. Peering behind the scenes of our favorite stars, we often uncover hidden stories filled with grief and hardship. Yet, in learning more about Roy Rogers, we discover that he exceeded our expectations, revealing a man even more remarkable than we could have imagined. It's been a solid 25 years since Roy Rogers graced our screens, but his legacy lives on through his children and grandchildren who continue to honor his memory. Julie Rogers Pamilia, Roy's granddaughter, recently set the record straight on some rumors circulating about her iconic grandfather. She delved into the challenges he faced when Hollywood executives tried to reshape his image, aiming for a look reminiscent of Western star Clark Gable. According to Julie, the executives targeted Clark Gable's distinctive eyes, attempting to give Roy a makeover that aligned more closely with the renowned actor. However, This proved to be a tricky task, as Julie candidly admitted they were striving for Gable's eyes, but Grandpa was never going to have them. Faced with the impracticality of the transformation and backlash from fans who cherished Roy's authentic image, the executives had to abandon their efforts. Julie added that fans even sent letters questioning the attempted changes, leading to a swift reversal and a preference for Roy's trademark squinty eyes. Julie didn't stop there. She shared amusing anecdotes about the executives pushing Roy to enhance his physique. They insisted he needed more muscles, so they prescribed a daily routine of 100 handstands and walking on his hands. Roy complied, making quite the entrance by walking from set to set on his hands. However, the attempt to conform to a specific physical ideal fell flat, failing to resonate with the audience. In another twist, Republic Pictures, the studio Roy was associated with, tried to boost his social presence by pushing him to attend Hollywood parties. This posed a challenge for the naturally shy Roy, unaccustomed to the glitz and glamour of the Hollywood social scene. Julie revealed that her grandfather, being shy and bashful, proposed a unique solution. He asked if he could bring a friend. The studio agreed, expecting him to mingle with celebrities. However, Roy's down-to-earth nature prevailed, as he brought his hunting buddy, and the two spent the night on a couch talking about hunting. This unexpected turn left the executives realizing that the Hollywood party scene wasn't a natural fit for the king of the cowboys. Now we want to hear from all of you who grew up watching Roy Rogers. Did you know all about that side of Roy Rogers? Don't you think that transforming from a shy factory worker into the #1 Western star for 12 consecutive years was something that we rarely see in Hollywood? Share your thoughts in the comments section below, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more video updates. Until next time, stay tuned.